Well guys, time is flying. It's already half a year ago since I did the up to this day largest video project on my channel, the comparison of 12 AEG HopUp Buckings. And obviously you kinda liked the resulting video so much that you wanted me to do the very same test, but with the GBB and VSR 10 bucking type. Once again, your wish is my command. So I went out to Farmland Airsoft Field with 12 of the most popular buckings and tested them in direct comparison, even though it was not all that easy this time. Let's get into it. During the last 6 months, I collected several ideas from your video comments, shop information and YouTube trends to present to you this choice of 12 VSR type HopUp Buckings for detailed inspection and comparison. As I did in the former video, I divided them into 4 groups by their patch surfaces shapes. We got the triangular or flat top style group, the R-Hop style group, the small R-Hop style group and one other group for unspecific designs. Finding the ideal replica to test them out was far more difficult, so I asked you for your ideas. One of them was to use the Max Model M4G chamber, which allows you to use GBB buckings in AEG replicas. But as this thing required to grind down the little edges of all the buckings, and I did not really get it working as it should, another idea was needed. Also, a GBBR was not desirable. The recoil would have made the footage more or less unusable, while temperature drops and gas levels inside the max would have too much impact on the later results. Therefore, I decided to choose a platform I'm already familiar with and that's also widely spread among the community, the SSG10 by Novritsch, based on the classic VSR 10 by Tokyo Marui. The one I used for this video is completely new and has never seen a BB or upgrade part before. Besides being an absolute hassle to unpack the rifle with only one hand, this actually brings you the advantage to see what a bucking-only exchange will change in the shooting performance. The stock bucking Novritsch uses here is the Maple Leaf Autobot in 60 Shaw, which will be the first one to test. All the other buckings are, as long as those are available, also with a 60 or 65 Shaw rating to ensure best comparability. The tensioner also is the stock one. I think the correct term for this is an M-nub? Well, however this is called actually, it's a straight and relatively large surface which seems to get more and more popular these days. Again, as in the AEG video, finding the best tensioner for every single bucking would take decades, so I'm using this one as a compromise. And that's basically all you need to know about the used replica. Let's go out on the shooting range and inspect the setup I prepared there. For the shooting comparison, the SSG10 will be stationarily placed in a special vise for adjusting your optics. This will bring maximum stability while I have to pull back the bolt manually. As you will see later, this still does not eliminate all the movement, but it's for sure better than on a bipod, for example. There are 2 test distances for each bucking. 10 shots go on the 35 meter distant paper to inspect the groupings, and on 65 meters, the 10 best shots in a row of a full 28 round mag will be displayed in the comparison. The energy of the stock SSG10 was measured between 2.3 and 2.4 joules, while using low neck 0.45 gram BBs exclusively for the entire test. As an addition to the AEG bucking video, I also noted the energy output on each bucking with correct top-up settings, so you get a hint of how the actual shooting power changes. In order to make the video not longer than necessary, I decided to cut the reloading process between the shots out, so you basically will get the impression of a semi-automatic sniper rifle. In this unedited footage, you see how long it would take to display only 5 shots in total, so I think I found an efficient solution for that. Now, before we start testing, here is one little disclaimer. Yes, the test again will take place outdoors. I recently got some comments that say all that work behind my tests is basically useless because wind would ruin all the results. Here are some points why I do think we can get valid results, even outdoors. First, yes, wind does have some impact on the BB's trajectory. That's a fact. But I'm not recording and testing in a storm or within heavy breezes. If wind will occur, the BB will not be affected that much, especially not with the 0.45 gram BBs I'm using. The woodland surrounding also works as a good protection from wind. Not perfect, but better than open grassland, for example. Second, I'm shooting an entire magazine on the long range of 65 meters, where the wind should have the largest effect on the trajectory because of decreasing BB energy and velocity. Later on, I take the best 10 shots into comparison, so those shots that might be misled by wind will be sorted out automatically. Third, there are so many other influences that could affect the actual results that finding the 100% bucking really is impossible. In my SSG10, the buckings will most likely behave differently than in your sniper, GBBR or gas-powered pistol. There are manufacturing tolerances, differences in BB quality, more or less matching tuning parts of your personal build and so on. Wind is only one of many factors that could cause deviation. Remember, this is Airsoft and not rocket science. This is why I want to say clearly, please do not expect to find the one and only bucking here. What you can expect is a tendency of bucking performance in comparison, but no 100% answer for the rest of all of your Airsoft days. This does not mean indoor tests would not be better. Of course they would be better, as they would eliminate the factor of wind completely. And let me tell you, I'm working on it, so maybe future tests could happen indoors. But for now, let's make the best out of what is possible, okay? Thanks for understanding. Now let's get into testing. As I mentioned before, the first bucking to test will be the stock SSG10 bucking, which is the Maple Leaf Autobot. Together with the Decepticon, it is one of the most common VSR type buckings these days. On the outside, we see two grooves that help you finding where the patch surface is located inside, and one metal ring for better air seal in the front. The patch surface is the classic Autobot triangle with one little groove in the front middle section, which is meant to centralize the BB properly for perfect vertical backspin. On 35 meters, the grouping on the Autobot is 15 cm high and 13 cm wide, added to 28 cm in total. We also have two flyers, one very close to the target and one quite far off. How we handle those flyers will be part of the later analysis section. On 65 meters, 6 out of 10 BBs hit the metal canister. Hits on the tree or the metal case below do not count. When watching the trajectory closely, you'll notice a slight curve to the right on this bucking. In my opinion, this is not caused by wind, but a specific problem of the triangular maple leaves. We come back to this later. The twin brother of the Autobot is the Decepticon, also a very well-known bucking by Maple Leaf, being on the market for many years now. From the outside, you will notice no difference at all. Same grooves, same material and same metal ring. The difference is in the patch surface. Instead of the groove for BB centralization, the triangle just ends in one sharp spot in the front, where the BB touches the patch surface last. 14 cm in total is a very good grouping on 35 meters for the Decepticon, but we also have 3 close and 1 far away flyer, which is not really acceptable on this distance. Again, there is this right curving issue. But watch the leaves in the background, they barely move. Also on 65 meters, where we count 3 out of 10 hits. My personal theory on this is, those triangular maple leaves are very prone to giving right or left spin due to manufacturing tolerances. None of the other buckings in the test have this. When you watch the older AEG video, you see the very same phenomenon on the Maple Leaf Monster bucking, for example. Also, some other users reported Maple Leaf issues like this in the comments. Maybe this is something Maple Leaf should keep an eye on? The third triangular style bucking tested is the Modify X range. From the outside, there is nothing special to mention, however the chosen material feels a little rougher than on the maple leaves. The patch surface looks similar to the Autobot design, but the triangle shape is a bit wider after all. You also have one groove in the front for centralization, also wider than on the Autobot. Looking at the 35-meter distance, you immediately notice the curving issue is gone with the X-range bucking. BBs come in a straight line, however the grouping of 30.5 centimeters plus 2 close flyers is not the best. What really surprised me was the X-range's accuracy on 65 meters. It hit 10 out of 10 shots on the metal canister, making it the best bucking of the entire test on the long distance. This one, all in all, really feels to be an improvement to the stock replica for the first time. Switching to the R-Hop style category, the first one again is a maple leaf bucking, the Mr.Hop or MR-Hop, also in the NBR version and not the silicone one as on the previous video. From the outside it differs from the other maple leaf buckings by the advanced grooves, looking like a little shield. The metal ring for better air seal is also included for the Mr.Hop. This is a unique feature of all the maple leaf buckings. Being part of the R-Hop category, the patch surface looks, well, like an R-Hop patch, filling out the complete inner bevel's window, including the full side supports. It's like an R-Hop patch being molded to a plain bucking, so to speak. 19 centimeters as a grouping look quite good to me, including 2 hits on the paper which was covered by duct tape. Luckily I was able to save those for the later measurements. However, there were 2 close and 1 far away flyers also to take into consideration. 9 out of 10 hits on the long distance also are way more convincing than the triangular style maple leaf buckings have been. Luckily, on this one there are also no significant curving issues, making the Mr.Hop maybe the better choice over the Decepticon and Autobot. What do you think? Let's move on and check the VSR 5 bucking by the channel's main sponsor Begadi. It has the Begadi label and its type name prominently engraved on the outside, so you can differ it easily from other models of the Begadi lineup. The part where the nozzle pushes the BB inside the bucking is rounded and very nicely finished. I assume this has been done for better feeding, but I don't know any better, to be honest. On the R-Hop style patch surface, I do not see any major differences to the Mr.Hop. The distance to the nozzle sealing area seems to be a little larger, but that's actually it. The Begadi bucking shot a grouping of 28.5 centimeters with only 1 quite close flyer on 35 meters. I think this is a quite good result, especially considering the slight breeze of wind you can tell from the leaves in the background. The results on 65 meters also look okay in my eyes. 7 out of 10 hits under the given conditions are nothing to complain about. All in all, the Begadi VSR 5 seems to be a solid choice for an upgrade bucking if you ask me. There is also the GBB 5 bucking, which is a small R-Hop style one, but as I'm not testing with a gas-powered replica, and judging by the name, it is meant for those, I did not take this one into the comparison. What I can tell you is that in my R60 GBBR, it seems to do a solid job so far, but that's just a side note. For more information, you can check out my review on this replica, which is linked in the upper right corner for you. Up next comes the Stalker SR Hop bucking, which I bought from the Dutch online store of skirmshop.nl. Also on this one, the chosen material is more of the rough kind. 4 grooves also have been molded into this one, but I do not really recognize the function of those. Is it also about orientation maybe? I don't know. The R-Hop style patch surface on the Stalker has been slightly modified, so it has a narrow extension in the rear end. I assume this is also meant for centralization of the BB. On 35 meters, the Stalker bucking brought up a grouping of 22 centimeters, which I would call very good if there would not have been those 3 close flyers. But still, we have already seen worth in this comparison video, so I think it's a good average result we got here. On 65 meters, it was even more accurate. With 8 out of 10 shots, the Stalker clearly is one of the better buckings on this distance, especially while being shot in not completely wind-free conditions. Overall, thumbs up for the Stalker bucking. Now we come to the small R-Hop style category and begin with the clear winner of the AEG bucking video, the Quantum Friction Pro bucking. Outside, on the shiny orange surface, we see the Quantum label and a little triangle. Also, the edge on the right side for the correct installation has a little dent, but I guess this is only a style feature. The patch surface seems to follow the same one-point contact approach as on the AEG bucking, as it looks very similar to its twin. Other than on the full R-Hop style buckings, the patch surface does not have any contact to the inner barrel's window frames, which is why I call those the small R-Hop type. I have to admit, I was a little disappointed of the Quantum bucking this time, but also my expectations have been very high before. A grouping of 26 centimeters and 2 flyers on 35 meters is only average in my eyes. Also, 5 out of 10 hits on 65 meters do not really shine compared to the other buckings in the test. Maybe it's only in this configuration, or the Quantum bucking does not like the straight tensioner, but with this result I would not really recommend it. Next one on the list is the Sniper Mechanics Flamingo bucking in its 3rd generation. Especially in the spring-powered sniper community, this bucking has the reputation of a golden insider tip for great accuracy. It is made of some silicone-ish material which is semi-translucent and still a lot rougher, but not as sticky as a classic silicone bucking. On the rear end, it has an additional ring molded in for better air seal in not so tight HopUp chambers. Compared to the Quantum bucking, the small R-Hop patch is a little wider, but still not as wide as a full one, as it does not have side support on the inner barrel windows frames. The pink Flamingo bucking was the only bucking in the test getting 10 out of 10 shots on the paper 35 meters away, despite a little wind coming in. This resulted in a grouping of 24.5 centimeters. Very impressive. On 65 meters, the Flamingo was not perfect, but 7 out of 10 hits on the metal canister still are a good result in my eyes. In my opinion, the good reputation of the Flamingo bucking is very well justified, being visibly more accurate than other buckings in the test. With the Flamingo Noir, Sniper Mechanics claims to even have improved the performance of the original Flamingo. This black version of the Flamingo seems to be the very same bucking as the pink one, despite the chosen material, which is NBR now instead of the silicone-ish pink material. The patch surface and the sealing features seem to be 100% identical to me, telling at least from the outer appearance. But you see yourself, it's hard to tell the details in this all-black bucking design. Also, performance-wise, the Flamingo Noir feels similar to the original Flamingo. We got a grouping of 25 centimeters, mainly resulting from the vertical deviation. On top there are 2 flyers, one slightly off to the right and one with some crazy overhop. On 65 meters, the performance was almost identical again. 7 out of 10 hits, no big difference, and a recommendation from my side as well for the Flamingo Black type. Now we have come to the unspecific category, where I placed all the buckings with a very special or very old school design. First one of those is the unicorn bucking, of which some users in the community reported great results while using it. Giving it a closer look, we notice some not so nice residues from the manufacturing process on the right side where the edge is located. Besides, there is nothing special to mention on the outside. Talking about the patch surface, it's the very same design as on the AEG version of the unicorn bucking. Shaped like a little rooftop, it also comes with 2 separate side support frame parts. Unfortunately, I was not lucky on the VSR version of the unicorn again. This time I got feeding issues I was not able to solve in the testing scenario. After each 2 or 3 shots, the SSG10 kept misfeeding. Maybe also because I had to adjust a very high HopUp setting in order to lift the heavy 0.45 gram BBs. This is probably also the reason why the energy on the chrono was so low on the unicorn bucking. When I set hop to 0, it came way closer to where it should be, but still a little weak to be honest. After all, I am not able to give you comparative results on the Unicorn bucking. This was also the case on the AEG version of this bucking half a year ago. I really want to get those things working, but somehow they just seem not to like me. However, I really do not think this happens because I keep installing the buckings upside down. Usually I don't tend to do such things. Maybe some of you know why the Unicorn continues giving me so much trouble. Tell me in the comments, that would be awesome. During my research for interesting buckings, I also found the Dr. Black bucking, and I got curious. The product description promised an all-new type of bucking design, called the U-type. So I didn't think long and ordered it for the test. For a 60 Shaw bucking, this one actually has a quite soft material choice, being kinda sticky and wobbly. The most interesting thing about this bucking is the very large opening for the BB and nozzle, if you ask me. I have no clue how this should achieve proper air seal, but as I learned later, this design is mainly thought to be used in GBB pistols. This may also be the reason why they decided to use a very old school patch design. To be more precise, the classic straight bar you got in new replicas about 15 years ago. After inspecting closely, it was no real surprise for me to see the bucking was not able to lift 0.45 gram BBs at all. Also, the energy output was not good as expected. So it did not make any sense to me to bring this bucking into comparison. I don't want to say it's a bad bucking. Maybe it is great for CQB speedsoft pistol gameplay where you tend to use lighter BBs. But in this configuration, it is definitely out for me. So here we come to the last bucking in the test, also a very well-known product for many years, with a huge fan base. It is called the Modify Accurate HopUp Bucking, but nowadays it's mainly known simply as Modify 10, coming from its unique color. While the aircraft grade rubber material feels quite rough, the feature that made this bucking famous back in the days was the very good air seal. You really could feel how the nozzle sticks inside the bucking when reloading. I think it was a quite revolutionary step back then. Maybe this is the reason why Modify never changed the patch surface on the original bucking, but developed other types such as the X-Range instead. This is why we still find the old-fashioned horizontal bar on the Modify 10. Considering its age and design, I think the Modify 10 did a quite good job on the 35 meters. 2 missed shots and a grouping of 23.5 centimeters are not that bad, especially when being compared to more modern buckings. But on the 65 meters range, you clearly see the bucking reaching its limits. Only 3 out of 10 BBs hit the metal canister. When watching the trajectory, you see the BBs coming in very low, because the 0.45s are just a little too heavy for the horizontal bar style patch. However, it still keeps the energy level above 2 joules, even if it needs a lot of hop-up pressure for a usable setting. But for a mid to long range setup, we have seen way better buckings, to be fair. Okay, in case you're still tuned in, let's take a look on my personal interpretation of the results. First, we have to decide how we handle the flyers on 35 meters, those which didn't hit the paper. I calculated with several approaches and found it would represent the actual results best if we add 5 centimeters to the grouping measurement for each close flyer and 10 centimeters for an extreme flyer. For sure, this approach offers a lot of room for discussion. Feel free to tell me what you think about it in the comments, but this is the way I decided to treat every bucking equally. So, now that this is clear, let's check which bucking won in which category, and which one has the best average rating. The clear winner of the 35 meters is the original Flamingo bucking with a corrected grouping of 24.5 centimeters, followed by the Begadi VSR 5 with 33.5 centimeters, and, this is a surprise, the Modified 10 bucking, also with 33.5 centimeters, but one more flyer in total. For the 65 meters, the golden trophy goes to the Modify X-Range with 10 out of 10 hits on the metal target. The Maple Leaf Mr.Hop is getting silver with 9 out of 10, and bronze is going to the Stalker SR Hop with 8 out of 10 hits. Taking a look on the comparison of each bucking type, we notice the R-Hop style buckings got most hits in total on the long distance, while the small R-Hop style buckings have the smallest combined grouping size on the short distance. This is the same tendency I found out in the AEG bucking comparison, so I'm glad this finding supports my initial results. We also see the bucking with the highest energy output on a correctly adjusted HopUp was the Maple Leaf Mr.Hop. Maple Leaf Autobot and Begadi VSR share a second place, and Maple Leaf Decepticon and Modify X-Range are together on the third place. In my opinion, those dual readings are so close to each other, the difference is barely to notice in the actual gameplay experience. But for all of those who are interested in those numbers, I hope you find them useful. When taking those chrono readings as an equal part of the calculation for the overall ranking, the Begadi VSR bucking wins the total comparison with the best average rating. Flamingo Pink and Maple Leaf Mr.Hop share a second place, while Modify X-Range claims the third. But from a player's perspective, I think in this calculation the energy output has way too much impact, so I also calculated the overall winners for accuracy-only disciplines. In this way of interpretation, Flamingo Pink is the overall winner. Begadi VSR 5 is ranked second, and the Stalker SR-Hop and Maple Leaf Mr.Hop are ranked third together. So after all, let me tell you some final words about how you should use those information for your personal buying or upgrade decision. As I stated in the disclaimer, those findings cannot be more than tendencies of how the buckings perform in comparison. In your own build, there could be a different outcome, because the variable factors are way too many to control in a test of this limited capacities. Possibly, you will not even notice a difference between a first, a second and a third rank bucking, because BB's trajectories are affected by so many influences they are very hard to reproduce. But I think there is a real chance you would notice a difference between a stock or not so good ranked bucking on the one hand and a top ranked bucking on the other hand. Just look how many people commented on the last video, saying how much they love the Quantum AEG bucking. So many people just can't be wrong. Now it's your turn again. Tell me what you think about the results and the test setup. Which one is your favorite GBB bucking? And did I miss some very important ones out? I'm looking forward to chat with you. See you in the comment section and have a good one.